My main problem is I've got to follow those two fellas, and I stand between you and your snack. So I'll try to keep it moving here. It's a great day. Thanks for being here. It's very exciting, and I know we're going to make a difference. I want to say thank you again to Dr. Burnett, to Bishop Shields, and Hopewell, to Reverend Sanders, Reverend Williams. I mean, I'm so inspired after hearing them. I've got goosebumps, I have to tell you. To the other church leaders that are here, thank you for being here. I want to say thank you to Dazon and to Paula for all their organizational efforts. Hope Clinic faculty and staff that are here. Very quickly, I'd just like them to stand up. They don't get recognized very often. These are the people doing the trials. Stand up if you're Hope Clinic faculty and staff. They're a wonderful group. And I want to especially point out Dr. Del Rio here. Dr. Del Rio is Chief of Medicine at Grady Hospital and one of our very important faculty in our program. So thank you, Carlos, for being here. The other thing I got to do is point out who are these people in the tight blue shirts. These folks are going to ride 100 miles tomorrow, Saturday, and they're going to ride 100 miles on their bicycles Sunday in the AC 200 bike ride, and they're raising money for HIV vaccine research. And I want to thank Gus, John, and their colleague, and if you'd help me give them a round of applause. Last year, along with about 70 of their best friends, they raised, I think, about $70,000 donated to Emory Vaccine Center and the Hope Clinic, and we sure appreciate it. All right. All the community partners that are here, I can't name all of you, but again, thank you so much. I did want to say that this book has a lot of good stuff in it. Please take a look. Paula and her elves, as they call themselves, all the graduate assistants, the young ladies and men at the front desk did a great job. My slides are in there if you want to follow along. They're at the back of the HIV vaccine research section, if you're interested. And I have to say, when we start our clinical trials, sometimes I feel like Reverend Sanders does on Sunday morning. Will anybody show up? I have that feeling sometimes with our clinical trials. Okay, today is HIV Vaccine Awareness Day. We've heard about barriers to progress. And now what we're all about today is HIV vaccine awareness. So I'm going to jump right into that. I work at the Hope Clinic, and what I'll promise you is that we will be competent, we will be compassionate, and that we are committed to this effort. The people that just stood up when I asked the staff and faculty to stand up are the best in the world. And that has been recognized by sponsors, the NIH, and they're doing very important work. And we will promise you these things. The Hope Clinic is part of Emory University. We're located in Decatur. It's a freestanding medical clinic, a block and a half from MARTA. Got our own free parking. It's not like going to the Clifton Road campus. It's in Decatur. It's a lot easier to get in and out. We're part of the Emory Vaccine Center. We're part of the Emory AIDS Center. And the motto for the Emory Vaccine Center is where science, all the things they do in the big research labs over on the main campus, meets hope, which is what we do at the Hope Clinic. The Emory Vaccine Center runs soups to nuts, ideas, molecular biology and test tubes, early research, small animal trials, non-human primate trials for vaccines, and finally, the human trials. That's what we're going to talk about today, clinical trials. You can't develop new medicines, new vaccines without clinical trials. You can't do clinical trials without participants, volunteers. I've been the director at the clinic for about a year now. I was at UAB in Birmingham for 20 years before that doing vaccine research. I want to tell you about my vision for the Hope Clinic. Clinical and translational research on vaccines and microbicides, another technology that a woman can control to protect herself against STDs, against HIV. We want to be an international center of excellence. We're in partnership with the government. The NIH this year has named us one of about a dozen U.S. HIV vaccine testing sites because of the excellence of the people that just stood up. There are about another dozen internationally. 25 of these clinics on 4 continents, sponsored by the U.S. government. It's the leading organization in the world doing clinical trials of HIV vaccines. If we get a vaccine, and we will, when we get a vaccine, it's going to be in large part because of the work of this group doing the clinical trials that follows on all the important basic science. We also work with the CDC and with industry partners who are developing HIV vaccines. Paula and her group of elves are all about community engagement, and we believe that very much. We know that we have to develop relationships, rapport, do education, engage communities before we can even talk about or think about participation in trials, and we're willing to do that. We also feel that we should be trainers. I think of you guys in some ways as the teachers, the trainers that are going to go out and carry the word back to your churches, your communities about clinical trials, about HIV vaccine research. But part of our mission at the Hope Clinic is to train the next generation of vaccine researchers. This is a year of milestones for us. It's the 5th anniversary. The clinic was founded in 2002. We will enroll this year our 550th volunteer in a clinical trial of a vaccine or a microbicide. Today, a very special day, the 10th anniversary of HIV Vaccine Awareness Day. And I'm sure that some of you remember, on this day 10 years ago, President Clinton at Morgan State University, historically black college in Baltimore, said, "Let us get a vaccine in 10 years. Well, 10 years have passed. We don't have a vaccine that's approved right now, that's licensed, but I will say we have made a lot of progress. We're a lot further along than we were. We're not as far as we want to be, but we're making progress, and I think good progress, and I'll talk about that. And I've mentioned that this year we've become one of the HIV vaccine testing sites sponsored by the National Institutes of Health. A quick slide on the state-of-the-art in HIV vaccine research. You've already heard the sobering statistics. This is the global HIV AIDS epidemic is worsening. Treatment has improved remarkably in the last 10 years, but there is no cure. It's expensive, there are side effects, issues of resistance, drug-to-drug interactions. So treatment is not ideal, it's not the answer ultimately for the global problem, although it's very important and we need to do more and more treatment. Prevention, suboptimal. You heard it said that we have 40,000 infections every year in the U.S. It hasn't changed in 10 years. It's staying there. Remarkable if you think about all the effort that many of you have done, and yet it's still the same. So prevention is suboptimal, yet we have to keep trying because that's the state of the art. That's the standard of care. Education, condoms, spreading knowledge, breaking down the barriers to recognizing the problem. And we've got to keep doing that. But what we need, therefore, is a vaccine. And we are now in advanced clinical trials with a vaccine. These vaccines are inducing killer T cells to help fight HIV. And there is significant enthusiasm in a very tough field of scientists. There's been significant lack of enthusiasm about many of the earlier products. The products that we're testing now, there is significant enthusiasm about their chance to provide benefit for this problem. You've heard it said once today, and I want to say it again. It is recognized by the leading scientists that an HIV vaccine is our greatest hope to gain control of the ongoing worsening HIV/AIDS epidemic. Today is all about education, awareness, thanking our volunteers as well is a big thing we want to do today. And you're going to hear from some clinical trial volunteers in a very exciting panel discussion in a little while. We want to thank our volunteers. But I want to remove a few myths, if I can, or start to remove a few myths and barriers with a few facts and practicalities about HIV vaccines. You've heard this said once, I'm going to say it again. You cannot catch HIV or AIDS from the vaccine itself. The vaccine does not contain a whole HIV virus. It does not contain live virus or killed virus. These are synthetic products made in a test tube separate from any virus, and they can't give you HIV or AIDS. Very critical piece.